Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to respectfully appeal that we all please rise as together we shall sing the national anthem. Can we all please rise as we take the national anthem together? Just the first stanza of the national anthem, "Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey." Okay, let's go. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. Their labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Together we shall recite the second stanza of the national anthem, which shall form our prayers for this event. O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Let's go. O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Guide our leaders right. Help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true. Great lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Thank you so very much. Your Excellency, Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Honorable Minister, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. We're here gathered for the South-South Zonal public hearing organized by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Attendees at this very special function are drawn from federal and state government, organized labor, as well as the Employers Association. We're also being joined here today by our very special traditional fathers who are also here to together lend their voice to the issue affecting us as regards issues of minimum wage in our nation. I shall begin this event by a very brief introduction of dignitaries whom we have here. And today in this place, it is my honor and pleasure to respectfully welcome His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, who here today is being represented ably by the Head of Service, Akwa Ibom State. Can we please put our hands together as we welcome Elder Efyong Essien, Head of Service, Akwa Ibom, representative of His Excellency, the Governor, who unfortunately could not make it here to this event, but because of the regard that he has for organized labor, he sent the Head of Service. Please, another round of applause for His Excellency's representative. We thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to inform us that we've also been joined here today by the Honorable Minister of State, FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmood. A round of applause for the Honorable Minister, please. Thank you so much for coming, Honorable Minister. I'd like to, at this point, respectfully welcome Comrade Kayode Alakija, Deputy President 2 of the Trade Union Congress, who's joined us here. We'd also like to welcome the representative from the private sector, Honorable Theophilus Norom Okuchukwu, who's also here. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ekpo U.O. Nta Esquire, Chairman, CEO, NSIWC, who's the Secretary of this committee. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. A round of applause for him there. Thank you so very much. We're also being joined today, the Chairman of the NLC Akwa Ibom State is here on behalf of organized labor. We have other personalities from organized labor. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Comrade Sonny James. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you so very much. On behalf of the NLC Chairman, we welcome once again all the people from organized labor who earlier on had been recognized as this event began. We'd also like to respectfully inform us that due to the specific importance of this event, the traditional institution in Akwa Ibom State is here, And of course, today it is ably led by the Chairman of Akwa Ibom State Traditional Rulers Council. Please put your hands together and welcome His Royal Majesty Odidem Basi Etmeded, who's also the paramount ruler of Uronko local government area. He's here. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so very much. We welcome very specially Comrade Matthew Olabe from Organized Labor, River State. He's the State Secretary of Labor in River State. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much for joining us. Your Excellency, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you look through the hall, you will see that we have an array of our traditional fathers who have come here to join us on this occasion. We'd like to very specially welcome all of them. I just mentioned we have the paramount ruler of Uyo local government area, who's here also seated with us on the head table. Thank you so much for joining us. The paramount ruler of Ukanafun local government area is also here as well. We have also Ure from Oruku local government area paramount ruler who's here. The paramount ruler of Ika local government area is also here. Orugonam local government area paramount ruler is also here. Ikorekpene, the gentleman from Traditional Rulers Council, is here as well. We have the paramount ruler of Uran local government area who's here, paramount ruler of Ibom local government area, and other paramount rulers who are also here. Please, can we all put our hands together and celebrate all our traditional rulers who are here for this very special function of the public hearings of the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Your Excellency, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, having been done with that very brief introductions, I'd like to now welcome the chairman of the Zonal public hearing for his opening speech. I've been told that today, Honorable Theophilus Norom will be standing in for him. So may I now most respectfully invite Honorable Theophilus Norom Okochukwu for the opening speech on this event. You're welcome, sir. Please, can we put our hands together and welcome him to the microphone as he comes here? Please, sir. Okay, you can join us here on the lectern. Thank you very much.
His Excellency, our host governor, represented by the head of service, Your Excellencies, the governors of South-South, this our meeting is a hybrid, even though some of them are not here, but I know that they've joined us visually. Our member, Honorable Minister of State for FCSC, you are welcome, ma. Your Royal Highnesses, I salute you, sir. My colleague, Mr. Lakija, I greet you, sir. Please, all the representatives of the various stakeholders, from the organized labor, NLC, TUC, you are welcome. Representatives of the organized private sector, MAN, Nasima, NASME, you are welcome. And all other representatives of the different cadre of the governments, you are all welcome. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, an address delivered by the chairman, Zonal Committee of the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage at the Zonal public hearing organized by the Tripartite Committee on the review of the National Minimum Wage on Thursday, 7th March, 2024. Protocol. I am most honored to address you today as we embark on a crucial phase in reviewing our national minimum wage. As you are all aware, and according to the provision of the Extant Act, the national minimum wage is to be reviewed every 5 years. Considering that the current one came into effect in April 2019, it is due for a review this year, 2024. Therefore, as we gather here today, we recognize the significance of this assignment and its multiplier effect on the lives of millions of hard-working citizens in our great country, Nigeria. The 37-member National Minimum Wage Tripartite Committee, which Mr. President constituted with equal memberships drawn from the government side, that is the federal and the states, organized labor and the Employers Association, has been tasked with ensuring that our minimum wage reflects the evolving economic landscape, adequately addresses the well-being of our workforce, and of course, the ability to pay in a sustainable manner. This is the main objective of holding this public hearing across the 6 geopolitical zones, where we aim to engage with stakeholders from various sectors to gain insights, perspectives, and recommendations. This inclusive approach underscores our commitment to transparency, fairness, and the democratic ideas that govern our nation. The diversity of opinions present here today, which represent public and private sector workers, employers, trade unions, civil society, and the broader public, will be a testament to the richness of our national dialogue. We encourage each participant to express their views openly, share their experiences, and provide constructive suggestions. Your input is invaluable in shaping policies that will not only impact the livelihoods of our citizens, but also contribute to the overall economic and social well-being of our nation. The committee is keenly interested in receiving well-researched position papers that will aid us in making informed decisions. We recognize the importance of balancing the interests of both employers and employees to achieve a fair and sustainable minimum wage that promotes social justice and economic stability. Finally, on behalf of the chairman of the Tripartite Committee on Minimum Wage, Alhaji Buka Goni Aji, CFR, a retired head of service of the Federation, I extend my sincere gratitude to our dear host, His Excellency, the Governor, and the good people of this state for graciously hosting this zonal event. I also salute other governors or their representatives, state executive council members, and all stakeholders from this geopolitical zone who have taken the time to be present here today and contribute to this process. Let us work together in harmony to ensure that the outcomes of this review reflect our well-thought-out aspirations and realities for the good of Nigeria and its citizens. Thank you, and I look forward to a fruitful and collaborative discussion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the chairman deserves a better applause. Can we please make it better to encourage? That was the opening speech by the chairman of the zonal public hearing. As we informed us earlier on, we're here gathered for the South-South zonal public hearing organized by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage, gathered here for the South-South in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Attendees at this very special and wonderful event are being drawn by representatives from the federal and state government, organized labor, employers association, and to underscore the utmost importance of this event, ladies and gentlemen, we have the traditional institution here in Akwa Ibom State being present and joining us here. Would like to progress at this point, as we very respectfully invite to make her remarks on this occasion, the Honorable Minister of State, FCT. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together as we invite Dr. Maria Mahmood to the microphone for her remarks on this event. I believe the Minister deserves a better applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, ably represented by the Head of Service, the Chairman of this great committee, the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage, our traditional fathers here present, representative of other governors of the South-South, all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the unions, the NGOs, the CSOs, good morning to you all. I'm delighted to be part of this important committee to the South-South on the public hearing to assess and hear from individuals that this actually is the purpose and is for those people that are here. The most important aspect, we could remember from the removal of the subsidy, there are so many things that happen, which Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has tried to cushion some effects, including the increment of salary of 35,000 for 3 months to individual at the federal level, and this will also extended to the state governments, and also provision of palliatives to be distributed across the 36 states, including FCT. Then the most important aspect of it is the revise on the minimum wage, that we were on 30,000 per month as the minimum wage. So this committee was constituted by Mr. President himself, as it has mentioned by the chairman of this committee, to look at the situation, to reduce the hardship, to soften and also to cushion the effect of the situation we are in now. So this committee has been constituted across the 6 geopolitical zones, and we are here today to carry on our function as in the South-South is concerned. And this thing is simultaneously happening nationwide across the 6 geopolitical zones. So the reason why we are here is to urge those that are involved, the unionists, the private sectors, and all the stakeholders, that they shouldn't hesitate to bring out what is in their mind. If you don't talk, the committee will not be able to do what it's supposed to do. We have to have your views, we have to brainstorm together, then we now, at the end of the discussion, come up with something that is reasonable, tangible, and that will be good for all of us. So please and please, I want to urge all those that are here to feel free to say whatever is in their mind that will be of benefit to this sitting, and then subsequent outcome that will be the good for all Nigerians, not only South-South as concerned, but all the geopolitical zones and also Nigerians at large. So I wish us a very fruitful deliberations and a better outcome for Nigerians to be happy with the government of Mr. President, also to achieve the 8th Renewed Hope agenda by God's grace. Thank you. May Almighty bless all of us.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give the Honorable Minister a better applause? Here in Akwa Ibom, we are known to be hospitable and nice to our visitors. I believe we can give her a better applause. I believe if she doesn't remember any other thing, let her remember she was well applauded on this event. Your Excellency, dear Governor, the Honorable Minister of State, FCT, the Chairman of the Tripartite Committee, South-South Zone, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving on now to have some other form of remarks And this time around, we shall be hearing from the traditional institution in Akwa Ibom State. Their presence here underscores the importance of issues of national minimum wage. After all, every worker in Nigeria, be it from the public sector or the private sector, is from a local government area. And in these local government areas, they have royal fathers, and so every worker in Nigeria is a child of the royal fathers in Nigeria. That's why our royal fathers are here. I'd like us to give them a better round of applause again. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to respectfully invite for his remarks the chairman of the Akwa Ibom State Traditional Rulers Council, His Royal Majesty Odidem Basi Etmedet, who will now make some remarks on this event. Welcome, sir.
His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, hereby ably represented by the Head of Service, the Honorable Minister, there is a name that is on recurrent decimal, Mr. Ekpo Nta, because you are always finding him either an appointment of this other one or ICPC, if I'm correct. My very revered traditional fathers, labor leaders. By the way, let me make this remark. I hope the NSC and TC what? I hope they are going to agree on this very, very important, because they are always falling apart when it comes to national issues. Having said that, the chairman, I've come to realize that because of the situation on ground, the government, from the local government, from the state and the federal, they have actually agreed that there's a problem. Since the removal of the subsidy, things have not been the same. And we know this is a legal matter. Issues on minimum wage is purely legal. That has to do with the trade union and the rest. As traditional fathers, we want to appeal to those who are on the negotiating table that they should agree first among themselves and then try to do justice to the entire masses of Nigeria. Because if they don't agree, if they behave like the way they have been behaving, don't blame the government at the end of the day. But the government should also know that there's a problem. If this problem is not sorted out properly, because 1 cup of Gary, 2 cups of Gary is now about one naira. It has never happened. Transportation, I come from Oran. 50,000 naira of fuel cannot take me from Oran back to you and come back. It's not possible. So there is that rippling effect where we get our raw materials or foodstuffs. I think the whole thing is pushed back to the masses, to the consumer. So I will not be there to negotiate. But I know 30%, if it be 30%, getting to 40 or 50 or 60, as the case may be, I'm not there. But I'm only making an input. We will cushion in the effect how our masses will be able to live. Because we have to live like human beings. As of today, we are not living like human beings. We are not sure of 3 square meals. No, we are not sure. Foodstuffs, things that was very normal as you grow up, has now become what I might call luxury. And can we afford to buy Gary 3 in 1, 2, I don't even know. So please, Mr. Chairman, Minister, Labor, first and foremost, you must come together so that you can face the government to give us a better minimum wage. I think when that is done, Nigeria will be a very peaceful place. All this checking out, say Japan to London to Canada, you can't blame them. So, those who are going to negotiate, please negotiate well. Professor Jerry Garner said, if you are a manager, manage well. If you want to negotiate, negotiate well for the entire masses. I thank you for calling us, and may God bless you.
We thank His Royal Majesty for speaking like a father indeed on behalf of all his children. I believe he deserves a better applause. Thank you so very much. Chairman Akwa Ibom State Traditional Rulers Council, speaking there. Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, the Chairman of our committee, very distinguished guests, our royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving straight to item number 9, which is the presentation and submission of memoranda by stakeholders. I have been asked to appeal to the people whom we shall call up here to please endeavor. We know the issues are weighty, but of course that's why you were asked to submit the memoranda, of which the committee will have to digest that. You will not be able to speak on all items of your memorandum here because of the time, the limited time that we have in this event. We'd like to respectfully appeal that you go straight to highlight the most important items. Others will be digested by the committee via the ones you have submitted. I'd like to, on that note, please announce that I've been asked to allot 3 minutes to each speaker. If the first speaker does more than 3 minutes, that means he has taken the time of the subsequent speaker, and so on. I'd like to most respectfully now invite to open this session the chairperson of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Akwa Ibom State Council, Comrade Sonny James.
Solidarity. Solidarity. Soli. Forever. He's so little. Africa. A people united. Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you. Sit down. Thank you very much. Respectfully, the workers has only shown that this is an item they've been waiting for. It's an item that they will always be happy for. It's an item that they will always appreciate the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the government of Akwa Ibom State when it is implemented. Respectfully, again, His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, ably represented by the Head of Civil Service, our father, who is here himself, the governors of the 6 states, which of course I know most of them are watching through Zoom, haven't had the privilege of sending in the link to all of them to follow from their respective states. Respectfully, the Right Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory for States, our chairman of this meeting, the secretary of this meeting, our son, who of course have done a good job for this commission, the representative of the national president of the Trade Union Congress in the committee, our referred traditional rulers. Of course, the chairman of the Traditional Ruler Council in Akwa Ibom State in the head table, I use him to recognize other people. Very wonderful workers. of Akwa Ibom State and leaders, invited stakeholders, permit me to rest in this well-established protocol. Comrade, ladies and gentlemen, before I have to go through the little piece I was given, the national leadership of Nigeria Labour Congress, the secretary of NLC would have been the one to speak for the zone, but very unfortunately, it's not at this moment, and mandated that I speak on behalf of the organized labor for all the state councils of the South-South zone in Nigeria, Akwa Ibom in particular, and the interests of the organized labor. It is on that note that I say my word first, that minimum wage negotiation is an item we cannot overemphasize. Our referred chairman of the Tripartite Council did advise that both sides sheath their sword, think of being in the table, discuss frankly with a view to having a wage increment for all Nigerian workers. I can assure this meeting in South-South that labor is willing to cooperate and make sure we achieve this feat in the coming days, as the days allocated for this committee is gradually and fast running out. And therefore, I give that commitment that we are willing to discuss faithfully on this committee. And it will also be fair to say here that the last minimum wage committee, some states in the zone are yet to implement the minimum wage for our people. And therefore, whatever we do, now that we have governors from all the zone, let them at that table discuss and agree and ensure that Nigerian workers have the new minimum wage given to all of them. I will quickly run within the 3 minutes allocated to me to be sure that what was given to me, I do justice to it. This is a presentation by the Nigeria Labour Congress, Akwa Ibom State Council during the Zonal South-South public hearing on the national minimum wage negotiation holding at Ibom Hall, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, this 7th day of March, 2024. Firstly, let me commend the organizers of this exercise for their diligence, resilience, and proactiveness in taking steps to ensure the emergence of an acceptable new national living wage for Nigerian workers. Let me thank you also for the privilege to stand before you on behalf of the organized sector, organized labor, to make this presentation of the indefatigable workers of the state under the umbrella of the Nigeria Labour Congress. I have no doubt whatsoever that this honorable committee will do justice to this meeting by considering all relevant contributions of the stakeholders that will be presented here today, while working hard to give Nigerian workers a living wage come 1st of April 2024 in line with the extant laws of Nigeria. Recall that on May 29, 2023, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu unilaterally removed the fuel subsidy, a step that has created a domino effect on consumer prices, coupled with the free fall of the naira brought about by the Bretton Woods institutions' policy of exchange rate liberalization. The purchasing power of the average Nigerian worker has been grossly eroded, thereby making the caricature of the current minimum wage. Indeed, the 30,000 minimum wage is nothing but a starvation wage as at today. The cold predictions from the World Bank and the National Bureau of Statistics shows that inflation rate at an all-time high of 29.9% for January 2024. By the end of this year, a whopping 37.5% of the country's population would have been pushed into poverty if nothing is not done immediately to mitigate this action. The standard of living for every worker had become suicidal and strangulating. Every single item a worker depends on for sustenance has gone out of his reach. Foodstuffs, transportations, school fees, accommodation, medical care, clothing, even ordinary pure water sachet had become out of reach of Nigerian citizens and masses. The excruciating pains on the shoulders of the Nigerian workers in the South and Akwa Ibom in particular is now very worrisome. There is anger and there is hunger in the land, necessitated by the unfavorable policies of government, thereby reducing the purchasing power of workers in relation to the extant national minimum wage. The social conditions of the citizenry is pathetic and continues to worsen as more and more workers have to withdraw their children from schools and refrain them from the use of official health facilities as a means of coping with the new economic normal. The increase in crimes and insecurity is also not unassociated with this increasingly economic hardship. The leadership of Congress therefore posits that in order to ensure social stability in our country, increase productivity and national development, and to adhere to global requirement of decent work, the following sub-economic indicators must be considered as we review the existing 2019 minimum wage. The indices include but not limited to the cost of living per day in relation to consumer goods and services, housing and accommodation for workers, transportation, utility expenditure, health care, educational expenses. Using the key indicators above for measurement and considering that an household in Nigeria is made up of a worker, a wife, 4 of his children, not also forgetting the scenario of dependency ratio prevalent especially in the South Nigeria. B, the comparatively high cost of living peculiar to the oil-producing areas, a consequence of all exploration and mining activities. The South Zone hereby proposes a new national minimum wage of 850,000 naira only for level 1, step 1. For the benefit of doubt, the breakdown is as follows. Food. Number 1, food. Every household is expected to take 3 meals. And for you to cook cook rice for the family, it is expected that 1,200, even from Mama Put by the roadside, is 1,200, 1,500. So if we take 1,200 for a family of 6, father, mother, 4 children, and you take it for 30 days, because they have to eat for 30 days, it will amount to 216,200 naira. If you pick snacks, early in the morning, your 4 children want to go to school, they will demand for an Indomie or maybe a small snacks of bites. And that takes 500 naira. And then if you multiply 500 naira, for 20 school days, you have 40,000 naira for your 4 children. It is also very clear that a worker who must only live and doesn't look for luxury will have to live in a one-bedroom flat. One-bedroom flat. That is going on the south side now for 400,000 minimum. If you divide that 400,000 by 12 months, that worker is expected to pay 33,000 naira per month. If you look at clothing so that you don't wear rags, the parent is expected to buy some miniature bend-down boutique for the children of 4 and his own and his wife. And at a moderate cost of the NLC, we expect that person to buy clothing, bend-down in particular, for 40,000 naira. When we look at transportation to and from work for 22 working days, 1,500 on average, in going and coming 3,000 naira a day, which is more than that in some states of the South. And you multiply that by 22 working days, you are expected to use 66,000 for yourself to transport yourself to work. If you look at health care, appreciating of God giving you good health, only going for paracetamol and maybe malaria tablet when need arises. The dependents and yourself is approximately taking 50,000. If you must take malaria and typhoid tablet, only you is going for beyond 28 to 30,000 now. But we are thinking, believing God will give us divine health. And you take 50,000. Education demands of your 4 children. Assuming they are in public schools, the demand per child for about it is about 50,000. And then if you put it for 4 children, you now have 200,000. Some of us here, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to announce, some of us here, we have more than 4 children. But the rest is our burden, and we will not want to bother the government on it. But let us take our own calculation to the 4 that you know in the Nigerian arrangement. Mr. Chairman, the Right Honorable Minister of the FCT, permit me to also run down that education demand, the utilities, electricity bills, especially in Akwa Ibom that we are still running estimated metering, water rates, disposal, waste disposal, cooking gas, fuel for your small generator in the house, I pass my neighbor, telephone calls where need arises. If you put it at 95,000, we are being very moderate. Your Excellency, the Governor of Ibom State and other excellencies listening to us, everybody that has a house must make provision for toiletries in the end of every month. The NLC and the TUC looks at it and take, if you give us 60,000 naira for the toiletries on a monthly basis, we can assure you that we will manage that. And therefore, we give 60,000 for toiletries. Incidental and emergencies, where you are seated in your house and your village people are calling you, your church people are calling you, emergencies here and there, we are very, very considerate. We took it at 50,000. Your Excellency, you can see that if you give us 850,000, we will be clapping hand for you. For a show of love to the members of this committee, I will request my workers to clap for them in advance, because I see 850,000 minimum wage coming to the Nigerian workers, and all the states of the South Side are hereby encouraged to pay it to their citizens. The further recommendations as stated in the request letter and invitation is as follows: that the federal government of Nigeria should create an enabling environment for private businesses to thrive by ensuring the immediate release of more megawatts of electricity to reduce costs of production, and also resuscitate our refineries, or also build modular refineries with a view of making diesel available and affordable for small and medium-scale production. We will only be wasting our time on any amount of money given to us if we don't look at this particular recommendation as will be presented to Mr. President to look at this matter. Without that, whatever we are doing here, we're wasting time, because after 2 weeks, it will have been gone completely. Number 2, recommendation of the NLC in the South-South. It is the collective request from the zone that the inflation-dependent model of wage adjustment be adopted, thereby automatically rising the minimum wage of the workers whenever inflation seems high, and hence eradicate the struggle for a new minimum wage every 5 years, as obtained in the developed world. For instance, if you go to the United States, you will not see the NLC or the labor union there fighting with government every 5 years, looking for new minimum wage. They have an indices inbuilt in the system where inflation check it and then they will hide it by themselves. All this issue of fighting, before we finish, market prices have gone up, would have completely been eradicated. It has to be considered as this committee sits to discuss at the level of that committee. The minimum wage should be paid to all workers in the employment of not less than 5 people. This act will bring inclusiveness to all Nigerians as exhibited in the composition of the new National Minimum Wage Committee. The chairman of this committee, you agree with me that in this 37-man committee, we have people from the private sector, we have people from government, we have people from Sweden, we have from MAN, we have from federal, we have from state, on equal proportion. It means that as the committee is balanced, the payment should also be seen to be balanced. That if you employ a minimum of 5 people, and your member was represented at the committee, you have no excuse not to also allow the wage to get to your people, while expecting government to make the ease of doing business in Nigeria very, very encouraging for those also private sector to survive. The zone proposes a penalty for those contravening the national minimum wage. The penalty includes the immediate impeachment and imprisonment of any state governor who is insensitive to implementing the new national minimum wage. We cannot explain how a governor will have 20 vehicles in a convoy, not willing to reduce the cost of governance, not willing to reduce what the politicians are taking. Mr. Chairman, pick the budget of all the states of the South-South. You will see that administration takes more money than socials, all the states inclusive. And therefore, it is time to change and rejig the system to make what goes to people more and than those that they will enjoy. And therefore, this is the way to go as this new minimum wage intends to come to the street. The cost of governance, especially in the South-South region, where we have the whole of Nigeria, must be seen to reduce. And therefore, they must also know fully well that we are the ones that produce the money that is used in this country. And no state governor in South-South will have any excuse not to pay exact minimum wage as will be agreed by the committee. The minimum wage should be retained in the exclusive list for further legislative acts. In conclusion, the chairman, let me conclude by thanking His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for the initiative of constituting this all-important committee with the mandate of giving Nigerian workers a decent living wage, commensurate with the crumbling economic situation. This is the best time to rise up for the workers, as no nation developed without the profound and highly motivated workforce. The Nigerian workers are calling for nothing but a conducive environment and decent wage in commensurate with their labor. Let us answer this call now, and you will see them unleash their potentials for the national security and the development of all. Once again, I thank you all, the committee members, members of the head table. I thank all our listening guests and invited ones. Aluta, Aluta, and on behalf of the states of the South Nigeria, Comrade Elder Sonny James, Chairperson NLC, Akwa Ibom State Council.
In Soweto, Africa. Thank you so very much. That was the chairperson of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Akwa Ibom State Council, Comrade Sonny James, adumbrating very well on the issues upon which we're here for consideration. Your Excellency, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, while the NLC chairperson was doing his presentation, we were joined by the head of service all the way from Bayelsa State, Mrs. Biobelemoye Charles Oyema MNI. Please let's welcome her with an applause. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Bayelsa State to join us here. It underscores the importance of the Bayelsa State people, the importance upon which her office places on this very important function whom we're here to perform. Your Excellency, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving now to invite the TUC Akwa Ibom State for their presentation, and that would be done under 3 minutes by the State Secretary of the TUC, Comrade Kingsley Bassi. Let's encourage him with an applause.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the FCT Minister of State, here present, the Chairman and the Secretary of the Committee for the South-South Zone on the newly proposed national minimum wage, our own Head of Service, Elder Effiong Essien, the #1 worker in the state, our royal fathers here present, the distinguished labor leaders who are here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first give honor and glory unto God that has spared our lives to be partakers and witnesses in the public hearing of the year 2024 proposal for the new national minimum wage. I want to also welcome all those who are watching online and those that have found time to come out of their very tight schedule to be here. The issue of national minimum wage, with particular reference to workers in Nigeria, and particularly to those in the southern zone of the country, is a very novel phenomenon. Historically, it dates back to 1928, which is one of the conventions of the International Labour Organization. We had it in 1949, in 1951, in 1970. The last one we had before this was in 2019. But at the moment, you will agree with me that even if we say that the present national minimum wage in Nigeria is a slave wage, it is even an understatement. At the moment, having been able to examine in Nigeria today, the prices of goods and commodities take three different scenarios. What you buy today in the morning, if you go back in the afternoon, that particular commodity, the price would have increased. If you go back again in the evening to buy that same particular commodity, the price would have increased. If you bought it, let's say by 9 p.m., just yesterday night, go back this morning, the price surely would have increased by additional 50%. You will agree with me that what we are earning today in the Nigerian public service, civil service, wherever, is nothing but slave wage. Solidarity, solidarity. I am not here to belabor us, but I'll be looking at 7 different angles, scenarios, where we have come out on the platform of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria to make our demand for a new national minimum wage, which the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has pegged at 447,000 naira for the least worker. When you start from the core civil service, we are talking on the least worker on grade level 1, step 1, using accommodation, utility, medical, food, education, sanitation, transportation. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has come that this is what is realistic. 447,000 naira. Solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. It is not my position, that you should know. It is not my position. So I don't need to be crucified. Solidarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to appeal that we allow the gentleman to conclude. I'd like to appeal that we allow the gentleman to conclude his presentation. When it is time, you will be given an opportunity to make your own contributions via questions and answers, please. Let's allow the gentleman continue his presentation.
I will continue. I will speak on that again. Okay.
Let's just allow him wrap up his presentation, please.
Okay, let him conclude.
So he should not conclude. Okay. Please, you can submit your memoranda, your hard copy to the committee, and it will be considered. Thank you so very much.
No. I will speak.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, sir.
I will speak. No.
Okay.
That is the position of TUC. It's not my position.
So please, ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the committee has please appealed that we allow him to conclude his presentation. Mr. Chairman, sir.
One house. Can I please at this point intervene? Because, can I have audience, please? Can I have audience, please? This exercise is taking place at the same time in Yola, Abuja, Lagos, Enugu. What is happening here right now is being streamed. And the democratic principle that we're operating, we could have all sat back in Abuja to take decisions, but that is wrong. And that's why we have decided to have this public hearing. In your own homes, you have maybe 5 children. They will never speak with one voice. They are allowed to ventilate their positions. As a matter of fact, as the secretary of the Tripartite Committee, I am not supposed to speak, but when it comes to interventions like this, I must intervene on the processes of procedure. Everybody should be given a fair opportunity to speak. The decisions will not be taken here. All the submissions would go back to the Central Committee, and it is at that point that harmonization will take place. I'm very sure that our revered father here had given a warning shot ahead of time, but that is how democracy is. Because if we do not allow this to happen, then we would not have been very fair on ourselves. So I would like to please request that whoever is given the floor to speak should be given an opportunity to say their mind, and at the end of the day, all views would be taken into consideration. I am particularly happy to be here today because I come from this state. I was requested to go to Kano. I said, no, I'm coming to my own state. So I want to be able to go back to Abuja and report that in my state we were very, very democratic. Do we agree? Yes. Thank you very much. I can see that by the time I finish, I love that song that you were singing for your... So, every participant that comes, please give them the same song. Okay, can you give me the same song? Thank you very much. Please let the TUC gentleman complete his speech. Thank you very much.
Solidarity. Having said that, and considering the economic hardship being encountered and experienced by all Nigerian workers and even our dependents, we have concluded by giving that submission and our demand based on that amount so that it could cushion the effect of the hardship we are presently encountering, and will also broaden the gap that has been widened in the country at the moment. We pray that you join us in the further submissions and negotiations, and pray that at the end of the day, whatever will be jointly agreed up there will be beneficial to the entire Nigerian workers. At this juncture, thank you very much for granting me your audience. God bless you.
Thank you so very much, the State Secretary of TUC, for that presentation. Your Excellency, moving forward now, I'd like to invite the State Secretary of NUP, Akwa Ibom State, Obon Cosmos M. Essien, to make his presentation on behalf of the Union NUP. Please let's encourage him with an applause as he approaches the microphone.
And with due respect to my governor, here represented by the head of service, the chairman of this occasion, I plead with all of us to allow me to stand on the existing protocol. Rest is sweet. Rest is sweet. Rest is sweet. Those who have that word are the retired people. When we come here, we are talking about workers. A worker of today shall be a pensioner of tomorrow. And when matters like this come up, I feel the themes of the meeting we are having here should take into consideration all the retired people. It is through this consideration it will be possible for the committee, when they get back home, they will be able to deliberate and include the old people. On many occasions, increases are made. On many occasions, allowances are given. And on many occasions, retired people are forgotten, the pensioners in particular. Consequently, you will realize that somebody who retired in 1980 still receives the same amount today, 2024. No increase, because they are always forgotten. The paper I'm bringing forward here on behalf of all Nigeria pensioners is to put it on record by this committee that pensioners need to be remembered on all occasions of financial increases. Let me read the few we have put down here for your keeping. Committee on Salary / Living Wage for Workers. It should also be for pensioners, not workers alone. Then we put us here, Nigeria Union of Pensioners thanks federal government for setting up the committee to review wages of workers in Nigeria. Union of Pensioners also frown at the caption of the committee, which totally excluded pension for pensioners. The right caption should be, the Committee on Salary / Living Wages for Workers and Living Pension for Pensioners. The idea behind this caption is that while working for workers, pensioners should also be included. It should be held in mind that workers of today shall become pensioners of tomorrow. In considering workers for living wage, pensioners should also be considered for living pension, realizing that pensioners set up the foundation where the workers of today's rest. Also, pensioners are the parents of government and also parents of the workers. And good faith demands that aged parents should be properly catered for. Besides, also, pensioners need a lot of money for survival, considering the high cost of drugs today. On this brief submission, we appeal to this committee to fix living pension for pensioners along with living wage for workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Obon Cosmos Essien, State Secretary, Nigeria Union of Pensioners. Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, the Chairman of the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage, very distinguished guests, gentlemen of the press, our royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen, the issue of minimum wage in Nigeria, as has been wonderfully espoused by that gentleman, concerns not only the Nigerian worker, but of course the Nigerian pensioner as well. I know that a lot of us were pleased with his presentation, and I ask that we give him another applause even as he goes to his seat. I'd like to, in that same vein, Your Excellency, we have just 2 more presentations, and after which we shall have a vote of thanks by the chairman of this committee. I'd like to, at this point, invite the chairman of NMA, Akwa Ibom State, Professor M.M. Abraham, for the presentation on behalf of that union. Please, let's put our hands together and encourage the chairman of the Nigeria Medical Association as she comes up here for her presentation. Welcome, Prof.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, here represented by the Head of Service, Elder Ifyong, the Chairman of this occasion, please permit me to stand on the established protocol. This is a memorandum submitted by the Nigerian Medical Association to the public hearing on the new national minimum wage organized by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage on the 7th day of March 2024 in this hall. The Nigerian Medical Association is highly appreciative of the invitation to be part of this epoch-making occasion that has the power to alleviate the sufferings of our fellow citizens. Some may opine that we should not be here because we do not have members that earn the minimum wage. But we differ because the spirit of Ubuntu demands that we all must work together for a better nation and humanity. Let us also say that the outcome of the events here today shall affect our members directly and indirectly, as we have relatives that earn the minimum wage and shall also benefit from the consequential adjustment that follows upward review of minimum wage. The NMA supports the demand of the labor as presented by the Nigerian Labour Congress. And we do that for the following reasons. The current minimum wage of 30,000 naira took effect in 2019 and still remains the same 6 years later, despite huge economic downturn and depreciation of the naira, as shown by relative analysis of the following economic indices. Number one, the exchange rate at that time was about $1 to 360 naira, but today it's over 1,500. Another reason is the petrol pump price, which at that season was about 172 naira. Today is about 700 naira per liter. Another reason is that of the purchasing power parity. The purchasing power parity is a money conversion rate used to express the purchasing powers of different currencies in common units. This rate expresses the ratio between the quantity of monetary units required in different countries to purchase the same basket of goods and services. To simplify it, purchasing power parity conversion factor is the number of units of a country's currency required to buy the same amount of goods and services in the domestic market as a US dollar will buy in the United States. So therefore, when it was calculated back in 2019, the purchasing power parity was about 124.8. But as at the figures released in 2022, it's about 158 LCU. By the time the figures for 2022 will be released, it will be a lot much higher. Therefore, there is need for the government to increase the salary, the minimum wage, and also the salary of all the workers. Number 4 reason why we support the stand of NLC is the inflation rate. The inflation rate as at 2019 was about 12.10%, and the figures at 2023 is 28.98%. The figures of 2024, I learned, is about almost 30%, 29 point something percent. So based on the variations of the various indices that we have reeled out, it is very audible to the deaf and very visible to the blind that the demand of NLC to increase the minimum wage, as stated here, should be endorsed. In doing this, we must, as an association, the government has to consider what we call the consequential adjustment. We emphasize that the minimum wage of doctors whose entry point is CONMES 3, Step 3, has to be adjusted accordingly. And the consequential adjustment should follow through to the highest paid doctor. It is of utmost importance to NMA that this is where we will benefit as members and also workers. We hereby call on this honorable committee to recommend immediate implementation of consequential adjustments with the payment of the new minimum wage to avoid cheating the senior civil or public servants and the possible industrial disharmony. The average Nigerian doctor still living and working in Nigeria is an epitome of patriotism. So please, the government should not give them reason to regret. In conclusion, the Nigerian Medical Association supports the call by NLC for payments of 850 naira minimum wage, and also calls for the recommendation of payments of consequential adjustments to be clearly stated to avoid industrial disharmony. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was the state chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, Professor M.M. Abraham. Please encourage her with an applause as she retires to her seat. Let me make it known to all of us that we've also been joined by the NOLGE president, Akwa Ibom State, leading her team here, Comrade Ernestina Iwe. She's here. And when it's time, we shall have her make the presentation on behalf of NOLGE. But before that, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to invite Dr. John Udobang, Chairman, NAMDA, Akwa Ibom State. Doctor, just 3 minutes, please, so that we can wrap up. Please come. A 3-minute presentation. I know that Doctor will not belabor the issues because of the generality of the concerns of Nigerian workers. He will just go straight to that which affects NAMDA.
Thank you. With due respect to the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, here represented by the Head of Service, please permit me to stand on other existing protocols. This memorandum is from the Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Academics, called NAMDA, and it is premised on the fact that the physical mass, the intellectual mass, the economic capacity, the social capacity of the Nigerian mass has been so compressed to a minimum by the minimum wage that this position of NAMDA seeks to drive up these masses and capacity of the minimum wage to a living wage. The position of NAMDA, we shall make it as brief as possible. With respect to the first term of reference, we wish to recommend that in addition to this geopolitical zonal consultation, as already advertised, opportunity should be given to critical trade unions such as NAMDA within the Federation to make representation at the sitting of the committee, even if it is in observatory capacity, in order to adequately address and represent the medical education sector. For the second term of reference, wish to recommend that there should be a yearly review of the minimum wage, a yearly review where there is no inflation. And this review should be, we are proposing a 25% increase. But at a time when inflation has been established, the adjustment should be tied to the inflationary trend of the preceding year. And this adjustment should be a 300-fold increase of the average inflation rate in the preceding year. And this increase, like has been mentioned here, should be automatically built into the payment platform for seamless implementation, so that we'll not be coming to sit down here and be driving and interrogating the process. There should also be a national minimum wage, particularly for the education and health sector. Hitherto, the practice has been that whenever there is a minimum wage increase, they will start, for example, 25% in level 1, and by the time you reach level 17, they will tell you that it's 0.2%. That means for the people at the top that started at the bottom, this minimum wage will be very, very minimal in their pockets. So what we are recommending for the medical and health sector, we are proposing a 5,000% increase of the current rate of CONMES 3 Step 3 for lecturers and medical officers and registrars, and as this should be applied to all levels in CONMES at the national minimum wage. And the professorial cadre and consultants special grade level, there should be a commensurate increase. You would permit me to say that almost everything in Nigeria is being driven by the US dollars. As at now, if we interrogate that process, we will see that the Nigerian worker, the minimum wage is $20 US. A country like Morocco, the minimum wage is $315 US. It's still in an African country. The Seychelles, the minimum wage is $456 US. The recommendation of NAMDA is that the minimum wage of the average Nigerian worker should be $2,000 US. That is 3 million naira. 2,000 US dollars. The money that this country is taking and asking those that are taking it to refund parts and go away with parts is enough for that amount to be paid. For the Nigerian doctor, Nigerian health worker, and all other health workers, I have said, we are proposing a 5,000% increase. This is one of the things that will impede and probably stop the Japa syndrome, which all the sector is experiencing. Lastly, I want to state categorically that there should be the relativity that has been maintained in the health sector when the consequential adjustment is being made should be maintained. This usually brings challenges in the health sector when this relativity is not maintained. The non-compliance with the minimum wage should be made an offense with no option of fine. The penalty NAMDA is recommending is 2 years imprisonment without an option of fine. We are also recommending that all employers of labor, irrespective of number of employees, should comply with the national minimum wage. In conclusion, we believe that the implementation of these recommendations will help to re-energize public servants and motivate them for greater productivity. This is the position of NAMDA. Yes, my attention has been drawn to an issue that I need to put clarification. I said, and reiterating, that NAMDA is recommending that the minimum wage of Nigerian workers should be $2,000 US. 2,000 US, whatever the equivalent is in Naira, as at now, if we peg it at 1,500 Naira, that is 3 million Naira. That is one. That is one. The other one is that we are proposing a 5,000% increase on the current payment of medical doctors on Street Step 3. Medical lecturers, medical workers, their entry point is Street Step 3. That is their minimum wage. And so for Street Step 3, whatever is being paid now, NAMDA is recommending a 5,000% increase. Thank you very much, sir.
Of the greatest Nigerian workers, I hope you have heard the position of NAMDA, meaning that from April this year, Nigerian workers should be able to have security because they will be going with 3 million Naira as salary. Please, once again, can we give it up to NAMDA, please? Let's clap for Dr. John Odoba for that beautiful presentation. At this point, Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, gentlemen and ladies, it's my pleasure to bring on board to also articulate the feelings of workers at the 31 local government areas of Akwa Ibom State. A woman with great capacity. Let's welcome Comrade Mrs. Ernestina Iwe, the State President of Nolge in Akwa Ibom, to please step forward and make their presentation. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, here ably represented by the Head of Civil Service, the Chairman of this occasion, and other members of this committee, our royal fathers. Let me recognize my own Chairman, Elder Comrade Sonny James. Let me also stand on the already established protocol. Because of the 3 minutes, so that my 3 minutes will not go on a recognition. Thank you very much. I am not going to speak on the minimum wage. because my chairman has done justice to that. But let me say that if minimum wage is implemented, the local government workers and the primary school teachers will still be suffering because of the problem we have in the law that is guiding those two set of workers in Akwa Ibom State. Here in Akwa Ibom State, it is the responsibility of the local government to pay primary school teachers. But if you go to other states, it is not true. It is not so. The responsibility of primary school teachers' payment is in the hands of the state governments. But when you allow we have state universal basic education here for primary school teachers. We have local government service commission for local government workers. Employment of local government at the local government service commission, employment of primary school teachers at the SUBEB, their service records, everything that has to do with them is in the state universal basic. But when it comes to payments, they leave it for local governments. And we are suffering. The local government workers are suffering. The primary school teachers are suffering. Just this week, our beloved governor approved money for payment of gratuity for local government workers, retirees, payment of gratuity for primary school teachers that retired years ago. And if this minimum wage is implemented on this faulty law, the local government will still suffer, the primary school will still suffer. So our presentation as NOGE, as the local government, is that when this minimum wage is implemented, let some laws be amended. Let some laws be amended. Let all that has to do with payment of primary school be given to the state government to pay. Let local government breathe. Let primary school teachers also breathe. At times it is implemented. The state workers will get their own paid on time, and the primary school teachers will not be paid. The local government workers will not be paid because of the financial burden on the local government funds. So we are here to appeal to this committee. We have seen the salary and wages, the chairman here. We are appealing to you, sir. We are appealing to all members of this committee that while implementing the minimum wage, consideration should be given to primary school teachers to be paid by the state government because their employment, their service matters, everything that has to do with them is handled by the state government. Their retired workers should also be paid by the state government, not local government. Let the local government funds concentrate on local government so that we also have meaningful development at the local government level. Finally, let me also appeal that let this minimum wage also ring some bells in the eyes, on the ears of government and all those concerned that local government needs financial autonomy. We need financial autonomy. Once we are free, our money will properly come to us direct and we'll know who to hold responsible when certain things are not done. Our royal fathers are here. We're supposed to be taking good care of them as our own paramount rulers, as our own chiefs. But those things are no longer there because our local government chairman does not have control of the funds, and the paramount ruler cannot hold the local government chairman responsible. So please, our position today is that let the funds of the local government be given to us through autonomy for local government. Let primary school teachers' financial burden be carried by the state government as it is done in other states of the Federation. Thank you very much, and God bless you, sir.
Is that how you clap for the NOGE president? Thank you so very much. We thank all the unions that made their presentation. I would like to apologize to the others that because of time which we are pressed for, we cannot take other submissions, other verbal submissions. But of course, the Secretariat is still open where you can submit your memorandum and it will be transmitted to the committee for consideration. Your Excellency, dear Governor, Honorable Minister, the Chairman of the Tripartite Committee, South-South Zone, our royal fathers here present, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have been asked to open the floor for very few questions. As a matter of fact, we shall take only 4 questions, 2 from each gender, 2 male and 2 female, please. I'd like to ask that when you are given the microphone for the questions, Control, can you unmute the other mic, please? I'd like to ask that when you are given the microphone for the questions, that you please rise, take the microphone, mention your name, your union, or maybe where you are working, and then go straight to your questions, please. Can we have some hands? Okay, the gentleman there, that's the first man. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. The governor, represented by the head of service. My name is Dr. Anthony Thompson Odofia-Osoro. I was a former director of non-communicable disease for the Ministry of Health. I'm retired now. Well, actually, I want to find out what algorithm did the committee use to arrive at certain indices that will be used to determine the national minimum wage. Number two, I think for the local government, I gather that they are to collect their money directly, not through the state government joint accounts. So I was surprised. I was surprised that the Norgate lady mentioned that they don't have resources at their disposal, and they're still to pay primary school teachers, etc., and other local government workers. I thought it ought to be done direct account, and then the local government chairman is held accountable. Money availability to pay workers this minimum. So to cut down costs of governance. There's too much waste in government, both federal, state, and local government. If they cut down on costs, funds will be available. Why did we arrive at this scenario where the currency virtually has no value? It is extremely shameful. What's Zimbabwe dollar?
Okay.
What was responsible for this? Why did we do this? So we ought to increase production.
Okay.
Don't listen too much to Bretton Woods institutions.
Okay, sir.
China evolved that far. They were not listening to IMF. They did the Marshall Plan for Germany. They didn't bother about us. Everywhere, this place was destroyed by slave trade, colonialism, no colonialism.
Please
no Marshall Plan.
Please conclude.
Please. Those are the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to that gentleman. I'd like to appeal that you go straight to the point and just ask a question. Can we have the second person? Okay, that would be the second man now. Two women after now. Our royal father raised his hand, sir. Nyauno, Mike, so that you can ask questions, sir. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Thomas Sukwo.
Can you be more audible? We didn't get your name.
The mic, the control.
It's functioning, sir.
Yeah, it's functioning. First and foremost.
Your name again. We didn't get your name.
E-T-E-T-I-M, Asukwo.
Okay.
I represent Pain Foundation.
Okay.
And first and foremost, I feel a little bit embarrassed by the actions of the Labour and the TUC. I want to beg, I want to join the Royal Father to beg these two organizations to come together. They should be having agreement to avoid this. And also I join with a local government. The case of the primary school teacher is of my very great concern. The primary school teachers and the local government workers, I want to beg that issue of these two workers should be, because the states are looking at these people as they don't have, the state will say they are to be paid by the local government. The local government will say that they don't have fund, they fund. So my question is, who is employers of the primary school teachers and the local government workers? That is my question.
Thank you.
Who are the employers of this set of workers?
Thank you. Thank you very much. A lady, the first lady, we are done for the men, please. We said 2 men, 2 women. So sorry. Unless there's no woman who wants to ask a question, then the men can continue. Is there a lady that has a question? Is there a hand up? There's a lady to your right, sir. Comrade, there's a lady to your right. Madam, raise your hand again. Let him see, please. Okay. The second lady should. Get ready. I'm afraid we can't entertain all questions, but you can put it in writing and submit to the committee, Mr. Chairman. I hope that's in order. You can put your questions in writing and submit to the committee, please. Madam, please go ahead.
The Honorable Governor, Minister, and the Chairman. I'm a member of the Nigeria Union of Journalists.
Please, what's your name? Control. Just hold on for some seconds, please. We apologize for that.
Hello. My name is Florence Umoituk, NUJ, Nigeria Union of Journalists. My question is this. Hello? My question is this. We've been talking about increments for workers. And there's a group of workers I rarely hear being mentioned when discussions like this go on. Those are the politicians. I'm wondering, who are the employers of the politicians? Who determines their minimum wage? And why is their minimum wage rarely ever discussed in public? The reason I ask this question is this. If the politicians were on any modality of payment, they would be the one leading in this fight. But in this case, we find them, the politicians who are our own servants, sitting back for us to beg them to increase our wages. I think something should be done about the salary of politicians. I don't think what applies in Nigeria is what applies in countries like the US and places like that. Something has to be done to also make the politicians committed to a battle like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The lady is saying, place politicians on minimum wage. The last person, please. That will be the last. Okay. Are you your father? Does he have a question? No. Comrade, come. It was the gentleman here. Yes.
My fellow monarch, the governor, and all members of this committee, I want to just make a comment. I'm wondering whether the government has what is known as COLA, because that is going to be important for both workers and pensioners. COLA is cost of living allowance. And I think if you really want to solve this problem, you have to establish COLA. That is, there must be important statistics that shows the level of inflation. And you don't have to wait for 5 years before you can go back to increment the salary of workers. If this is worked into the system, it means if we have inflation in our country, both the pensioners and the workers would not have to fight with government because they would rely on the COLA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our Royal Father. And we thank everyone who asked questions. If there are further questions, kindly put it in writing and submit to the committee. The chairman of the committee has asked that due to the very important function that we're here to play, we'll try and give as many unions as possible the opportunity to make their presentations. You would recall that at the beginning we had asked unions who have papers to present to submit same to the memorandum committee. And of course, we took those who made their submissions earlier enough, but I've just been informed now that we should also endeavor to give an opportunity to a very important sector in the Nigerian workforce, and that's the Union of Tipper and Quarry Employers of Nigeria. Therefore, I'd like to invite Comrade Udo Jacob to please step up to the microphone and in just 3 minutes make his presentation. I know that he shall go straight to the point, as the issues that have already been raised are issues that affect the generality of the workforce of Nigeria. And I know that this gentleman, since he's from the Tipper and Quarry Employers of Nigeria, somewhere in his presentation, maybe he will explain why granite is more expensive now in Nigeria than it used to be before. Comrade.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Permit me to stand on the existing protocols. My names are Udo Jacob Edem, representing Union of Tipper and Quarry Employees of Nigeria, here ably authorized by my president, Comrade Aliyu Adewale Mayungbe. I represent the union under the national level as National Organizing Secretary. Today, here to submit a recommendation from Union of Tipper and Quarry Employees of Nigeria, UTCAN, submitted today, 7th day of March 2024, to the Tripartite Committee on the new national minimum wage in consideration on how to enhance and sustain the high productivity in the public and the private sector of the economy. It is more important for we to have come here to also make our contribution as an employer in industry, also requesting the government to also look at the activities of our employers. We know, as a matter of fact, when the committee was set, employers' associations are part and parcel of this committee to consider how an employee will be well taken care of. And if we have not been heard, we will not be able to also take care of our employees. Hence, it's important for the government to consider the environment we are striving and doing our business. In the memorandum, we are operating under the lower rung, where we have in our communities, where mining activities are taking place. Sometimes we have hazard disasters, which is hazardous to our environments. Hence, most of the regulations that make provisions for those operations should be taken care of means we are asking the government to give us an enable environment for we to be able to carry out the activities, to be able to enhance and pay our employees, as shall be recommended, generally agreed by our affiliates. Today we are here to present this to the committee to consider those employed by the government, especially looking at Price Control Act, which is the responsibility of the government to be able to regulate certain prices and minerals or materials in Nigeria. We look at within the sector we are operating today, most of these regulations has not been looking into by the government. Therefore, makes it difficult for the private sectors to drive their business successfully. We talk about Weight and Measures Act, which make provisions for every person carrying out activities to use the right scale to be able to enhance the price control of the government. We also look at the issue of enforcement of occupational safety and health, which is more priority to our workers within our workplace. We talk about Employee Compensation Acts. Within where we are doing our activities, we have regulations that are not enforced, but they leave it very open for few individuals to take advantage over the revenue of the government and frustrate the operators who are in the private sector, which we are now saying that government should be able to ensure that if these regulations made for the operation within the industry are being put in place or enforced properly, we at the private sector will be able to have an enable environment to carry out our activities, to be able to meet up with whatsoever generally agreed at indices for we to pay our employees as will be agreed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for that submission there. And on that note, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to announce that we've come to the end of that session. We shall take some brief remarks, and after now, I'll be inviting the chairman of the Tripartite Committee to make his vote of thanks. And during the vote of thanks, he shall respond to the questions which were raised. I'd like to, at this point, invite to the microphone the head of service, Bayelsa State, Mrs. Biobele Moye Charles Oyema, MNI, for her remarks. Please encourage her with an applause.
Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Akwa Ibom State, ably represented by the Head of Service, the Chairman of the Committee, permit me to observe the already established protocols. I bring greetings from the Governor of Bayelsa State, His Excellency, Senator Doye Diri. I want to thank His Excellency, the President of our nation, for setting up this committee in recognition of the plight of the workforce and the need to engage the stakeholders. We appreciate the workforce of Nigeria, for without the workforce, the government cannot do anything. Having listened to all the presentations that have been made, I want to encourage us that we as government, whatever harmonious review that will be done, will be willing and ready to abide by them. I want to thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so very much. Your Excellency, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, permit me to invite to the microphone for a vote of thanks. Before he gives the vote of thanks, he shall respond to the questions which you raised earlier on. I'd like to invite, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who performs the role of Secretary of the South-South Zone of the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, okay, I had to make some consultations there. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, will speak after the vote of thanks, and then we shall have the national anthem to bring this event to a close. But right now, let's take the vote of thanks and response to questions by the National Secretary of the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Ladies and gentlemen, please encourage to the microphone Ekpo U.O. Nta Esquire, a son of the soil, to come and make his remarks. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Governor of this had a deliberate policy when we're drawing up the program to keep the Governor to speak last so that he can listen to all shades of opinion. Because in other fora, if we allow the Governor to speak early, other state duties will call him outside. Is that not true? So please give a round of applause to our Governor who is taking the patience to sit throughout. But I'm very happy with the representation that he sent because he's also the head of service of the state. And the implementation of whatever will be decided would actually rest squarely in his office. And that goes for the representative from Bayelsa State, who I believe between the two heads of service would convey it to the College of Heads of Service that this form the opinion of the workers of Nigeria. Let me go straight to the questions that have been asked. The first question was about the algorithm for determining national minimum wage The answer to that is that there is an International Labour Organization convention that regulates the determination of national minimum wage, and Nigeria is signatory to that convention. National minimum wage did not start today. In other parts of the world, it started as early as 1928. And if I look at the latest convention that regulated on the national minimum wage, it's 1970. And if you go to, it's number 131, and if you go to Article 4 of that convention, national minimum wage is determined in each country according to the needs of that country, taking into consideration the general wages that are already being paid in such countries. So if you, for example, use an example of the US, paid in the US are not the same sort of wages that are being paid in Nigeria. Number two, you also have to look at what is in the convention. It says you take into consideration the well-being of the worker and his family. Are we getting that? That position has been aptly canvassed by both labor unions today, looking at the indices. The representative from the Nigerian Union of Pensioners came here to speak. His pensions are being paid by those who are still working. Do you get that? For him to sustain his pension, those of us who are working in the public sector must increase productivity. And even though it's not been a question that has been asked here, I would like to respond to the question the poser he raised, that when you increase salaries, you should always increase pensions. That is a constitutional matter which provides that whenever there's an increase in public sector salaries, you must also have an increase in pensions. But the mistake most of us make, it did not say there must be a corresponding increase. There's a difference. When you're working, you are entitled to salaries and allowances, right? When you retire, the allowances aspect, like hazard allowance and the rest, is not factored into the calculation of your pension. Are we getting the point? And so what do we do in that respect? Those of you who are on the contributory pension scheme, the moment there's an increase in salary, there is an automatic deduction to your pension fund administrator, which aggregates to determining what you get paid as your pension. What has caused a little bottleneck there is that those who joined after having served before 2014 and 2004 have an equity contribution that the federal government or the state governments who have joined should pay to your pension fund administrators so that they use that in calculating your pension. I have raised the issue with the DG of the Pensions Commission that you do not wait until the equity part is paid, because the man or woman might die before you finish all your calculations. Pay him what is on account. Whenever the other one comes, you pay him as arrears. We've started addressing that. And for the pensions you talked about as having been stagnated, I have an approval that we are waiting from the federal government of Nigeria. I had done harmonization of pensions since last year, so we're waiting for the approval to come out. As soon as it's out, we will issue that circular. The second question was actually more like an advice, asking the TUC and NLC to speak with one voice. I would like to tell you that every contributor is encouraged to do their research
and submit what is defensible. And at the end of the day, the discussions by the tripartite body would address all those issues. Unfortunately, here today, we've not heard the private sector employers speak. I hope you get the point. We've not heard the private sector employers speak. We've not heard the government's side. I want to assume, and I'm fully aware of that, that the governments are going to have a unified position from the different zones, with each peculiarity depending on their zone, because national minimum wage is on the exclusive list, and the laws that pertain to it would come from the National Assembly and would be enforceable across the entire country. In some other countries of the world, like Canada, you have regional minimum wage. So what we would have been discussing today if we were in Canada would have been the South-South national minimum wage. North Central zone would do their own, Southeast would do their own. Until we get to that point, we are discussing a national minimum wage that applies across the entire country. And to conclude question 1, the ingredients, when I summarize that, is collective bargaining and ability to pay. Those are the two ingredients: collective bargaining and ability to pay. I won't make further comments on that because we are not mandated to make comments here. We're only to take notes. Who are, number 3 question, who are the employees of politicians? Would you like to know that? In most countries of the world, let me make it very clear, in most countries of the world, you have 2 bodies responsible for determining wages. In South Africa, you have a commission that determines wages for political office holders, judges, and the traditional rulers as a committee. And then they have the one dealing with public sector employees. You have that also in the UK, Low Pay Commission and another commission that deals with such issues. And so Nigeria is not really different. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission handles the remuneration of political office holders and of judges and of top appointees of government. And they normally like to take a cue, hopefully, from the exercises that we are looking at today. And the last contribution had to do with COLA. I must commend the Royal Father who raised that issue. Fortunately, as chairman and CEO of the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, I have a presentation that we submitted on the 4th of June to the current federal government of Nigeria, recommending the introduction of COLA, but my own had an extra A, C-O-L-A-A, Cost of Living Adjustment Allowance, which should be tied to inflationary rates and would not have to be subjected to this kind of exercise. It will be adjusted automatically by the Salaries and Wages Commission to address some of the issues that you have raised today. So if that is approved by the government, then it would also kick in. As a matter of fact, the 35,000 wage award that was done by the federal government recently was part of the recommendations that we had submitted from that commission. I think I've addressed all the questions that have been raised today.
Finally, we are very concerned about the movement of persons out of Nigeria to other countries. I want to say that in 2012, I did a research and discovered that the total remittances sent by Nigerians home from diaspora was 35 billion US dollars every year. Nigeria was number 3, India was number 1, Pakistan was number 2. Now, that is from official records. You know that most of your people, when you travel out, they give $2,000, $1,400, small monies like that, to take home to their families. So if we put all these things together, we're probably looking at 42 billion US dollars. So as a form of remittance, I must say we should encourage more people to leave. The only difference I want to ask is that those who are leaving should be well trained with skills. Because what we're doing now is that the critical mass of persons who are leaving do not have any skills. So they constitute a nuisance to the places they go to. But if we train our young persons with very good skills, as a matter of fact, a plumber earns more than any of us working in the civil service here today, because they're charging per hour in the US and the UK. So if our people must leave, let us retrain all of them to be worthy ambassadors, to be high earners, and see if we can move remittances back to Nigeria in the region of 70 billion US dollars. Are we getting the point? And for our doctors, I can assure you that from the perspective of Salaries and Wages Commission, since you had raised the issue, we are working very closely with NMA, we are working closely with the medical consultants, and their remunerations have been addressed. What is left are the allowances, which will soon be tweaked to put in place. And we encourage them, for those who have stayed back, that they're doing the very best for us, and so should be rewarded. What we have not addressed generally is the fact that we are always very quick to criticize each other. We must begin a new process of a reward system, such that you work hard, you earn high. Not everybody earning the same thing because they don't need to push their luck. In conclusion, let me just put a perspective to the national minimum wage in Nigeria over the years. In 1970, the national minimum wage was 18 naira. Are we getting the point? 1970, national minimum wage was 18 naira. By 1981, it was 125 naira per month. 1990, 250 naira per month. 1998, 300 naira per month. And they look like child's play, but from this 300 naira, people were sending their children to universities, and some were paying for their children to go abroad from this 300 naira per month. By year 2000, it became 5,500, but later on it moved on to 7,500 per month. 2011, 18,000 per month. 2018, 30,000 per month. Even that 18,000 of 2011, you know the private businesses in town. How much is it far from this 18,000 currently? And we've concluded the part one of our monitoring. Not everybody is even paying this 30,000. So the one of 2024,
it's not my place to stay until we have concluded all the transactions. Now, at this point, I want to give my concluding statements by thanking, first, the host government of Akwa Ibom State for making the arrangements you have seen here today. While sitting here, I'm monitoring what is happening in the 5 other geopolitical zones. I have the pictures, I have the video, and I can say that I'll go home very satisfied that Akwa Ibom State has done something very magnificent today. Initially, at about 10 o'clock, I was praying that the TV people should not come here so that we don't view an empty hall, but I'm very happy at the conclusion so far. I must also thank, in particular, the Secretary to the State Government, the Director of Protocol to His Excellency, and all the protocol officers that have been running, assisting us in all the movements we've done up to date. I want to especially thank our traditional fathers who are here, Your Royal Majesties. They were here before most of us, and they've been sitting here, and I've been observing and getting very worried why they will not even take water. But I must say that it's with full gratitude that we thank you for making this exercise very wonderful, particularly sitting in the row. I'll be very happy to repeat this at the national level. I must also sincerely thank the Honorable Minister of State, because this same exercise is holding in Abuja. Naturally, she would have wanted to stay in Abuja to control activities, but she decided to come to Akwa Ibom State. So, Madam, we are very grateful to you and your team that came over to Akwa Ibom, and hope that you would have more opportunities of coming to Akwa Ibom State. Unfortunately, she's leaving very early tomorrow. Would have loved you to go around some of our beautiful state. I would not fail to advise all the negotiating parties that the national minimum wage should not be predicated only on money. You should be looking at your conditions of service, transportation, and other things that will make it easy for you to make your naira strong. And one state that has really shown a pathway is Lagos State, that has introduced the Blue Line tram service that has crashed transportation within Lagos State. We hope that other states will follow suit. In developed parts of the world, civil servants and public officers have a pass that guarantees you lower monthly rates to use public transportation, the train service, the tram, and the buses. And finally, the MC. Nobody ever thanks the MC. But this one, I want to say that he has really managed the occasion very well, and we sincerely thank you very, very much. And I saw some beautifully dressed ushers. This is the first time that I'm seeing ushers dressed in this way. In fact, I asked somebody whether they were from space. They said, no, they are ushers. Akwa Ibom is always coming up with a lot of first. I cannot but sincerely thank the team from the State House that is projecting this live on all the media platforms. I want to thank the SSA ICT, Dr. Ekpenyong, and his team that have been doing this work here very quietly. We have to appreciate them. Is there any group I have left out? I don't think so. I've covered. And then, of course, those ones you have not seen, the security personnel are all over the place for our comfort and safety. So Once more, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. And Your Excellency, I'm happy that we kept you this long. I'm happy that actually you're the one who represented His Excellency, because you have stayed throughout with us. And you please send our regards to His Excellency. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Ekbonta Esquire, Secretary, Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Your Excellency, our dear Honorable Minister, the Tripartite Committee members, our royal fathers, leaders from organized labor, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to hear from the host governor who has made this event possible to be held here in Akwa Ibom State. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please put our hands together as I invite the governor of Akwa Ibom State, here represented by the head of service of Akwa Ibom State, Elder Effiong Essien, for the remarks of His Excellency, Pastor Umoino, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Please encourage His Excellency with a better round of applause. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of State, FCTA, the Chairman of the Tripartite Committee on the new National Minimum Wage, South-South, and the National Secretary of the committee. Let me very specially recognize our royal fathers, the chairman, Akwa Ibom State Traditional Rulers Council, and through him, other royal fathers who are here. Let me specially recognize my colleague, all the way from Bayelsa State, the head of service, Bayelsa State, the chairman, NLC, Akwa Ibom State Council, the chairman of TUC, here represented by the secretary, our royal fathers, the organized labor that is here on this very important gathering, participants from all walks of life who are taking part in this very important discussion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to represent my boss, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, His Excellency Pastor Umoino, who aptly is workers' friendly governor. He is also friends of the good people and the bad people of Akwa Ibom State, especially the downtrodden. I stand here proudly to represent him because he represents compassion on workers and the people of Akwa Ibom State. I would have loved to be His Excellency that representing, maybe by saying, oh, let me check the opening ceremony of this discussion and go for other activities of the day. But I intentionally choose to be part of the discussion, most especially because I'm the head of civil service of Akwa Ibom State. So my waiting around and listening to discussion has paid off. That I have experience, I have information, have notes that I have taken, so that when eventually will be discussing this issue further in Akwa Ibom State, I will be properly guided. Let me, at this point, present an address by His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Mo Eno, at the South-South public hearing by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage holding at Ibom Hall, IBB Avenue, here in Uyo, today, 7th of March, 2024. So as I take the address, every personal article on the address will represent or refer to His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State. The workforce is the powerhouse that drives the machinery of governance, be it public or corporate. Improved welfare for the workers therefore stimulates optimal productivity. This public hearing by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage is a process in this direction. I hereby sincerely treasure this opportunity to host and be part of this converge of critical stakeholders to discuss the needs of the workers, the burdens and the expectations of the employers towards reaching agreeable, acceptable, and implementable wage which will motivate workers for optimal productivity in response to employers' benevolence and sensitivity. Let me acknowledge and commend the fatherly disposition of His Excellency, the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for being sensitive to the plight of the workers and Nigerians as a whole in setting up the process for the implementation of a new minimum wage. The chairman and members of the committee and the organized labor deserve appreciation for ensuring an accelerated and hitch-free process. It may interest us to know that here in Akwa Ibom State, the welfare of workers has continued to be in our priority list, as evidenced in the release of over 14.7 billion so far by the present administration for the settlement of backlog of gratuities. This payment goes to the retirees of the state service, the local government service, and the primary school teachers. This administration has maintained cordial relationship with the organized labor, hence the enduring industrial harmony in the states. The above is in addition to the implementation of previous minimum wages and other welfare packages. It is on record that in 2019, new national minimum wage implementation effort, Akwa Ibom State government was the first to inaugurate the State Implementation Committee and one of the first states to pay the new minimum wage even above the agreed wage. This was done with a federal percentage of consequential increment and with arrears. In line with the spirit and intent of the ongoing revision of the national minimum wage to provide a living wage, I wish to assure that my state, Akwa Ibom, will align and oblique the outcome as usual when the input from the hearings shall have been
collated, considered, and enacted into an act by our legislators. You want a minimum wage, you won't clap to that. Thank you for giving us this privilege to host this very important event. Welcome to Akwa Ibom State, and have a hitch-free and fruitful deliberation. Thank you and God bless.
We thank His Excellency our Governor for his workers-friendly disposition, for his humane disposition to governance, and of course for being a father to all. We thank also the Honorable Minister of State, FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmoud, for coming all the way from Abuja down to Akwa Ibom State for this function. We thank the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. We thank very especially our royal fathers who are here. On their behalf, we salute the chairman of the State Traditional Rulers Council, who's here with us. Thank you so very much. We thank the chairperson of NLC, who made a very strong presentation. We thank also TUC for their presentation. We thank NOLGE and other unions who made their presentations. We thank everyone who are here. We also thank gentlemen of the press who are here to ensure that this very important function had been broadcasted to the world. We thank members of the multimedia channels of the state government who broadcasted this event on various multimedia platforms of the state government. On that note, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to announce that we have come to the end of the South-South public hearing by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask that we please rise as we sing together the national anthem. After the national anthem, there will be a brief session of photographs. But let's all please rise for the national anthem, please. Boy, I had a quote for national anthem. Hold on, let everybody stand up. Hold on. Okay, we can have it now, sir. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. We wish you journey mercies to your respective destinations. We'll take some brief photographs, just brief photographs with the governor's representative, the Honorable Minister, the Tripartite Committee members. Of course, the head of service by Elsa State will also be there. The Chairman, State Traditional Rulers Council, sir. Will all please come down for the photographs? Please, sir, lead the way. Lead the way down for the photographs. We have a missing item here. If you check and you didn't find your biro, you can come for collection. Down here, please. Down here, sir. Down here. I'd like the photographers to please come. Who's in charge? Mbok, arrange properly. Just arrange for a photograph. Mboy, I know fang. Okay, ABC on this, please. Let me thank also my colleague on the microphone, Comrade Emmanuel Ate, the official MC of Organized Labor. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Okay. Please make room for the photographs. Please don't block the photographer. Mbok. Make room for the photographs. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye.